Hello everybody, my name is Sniping is Fun, and I welcome all of you back to my next The 5 list, presented to all of you here on YouTube, and today's list is going to be a wrestling list, which I haven't done in quite a while. Sorry about that. But I've been planning on getting back into wrestling lists. I know I've been doing a lot of fighting game lists, video game lists, and been kind of getting back into anime a little bit and so on and so forth. But here's my first wrestling list since I've done like who should go into the WWE Hall of Fame. So this one is going to be the 5 WWE wrestlers I feel would do better outside of WWE. Because quite frankly, I mentioned this when I was announcing it when my 5 lists that are coming. A lot of wrestlers that are in the WWE, and I use the term wrestlers, I hate the term superstars, I really freaking do. A lot of the wrestlers in WWE would do a lot better if they weren't under WWE. I know WWE is the most popular wrestling company in the world, or should I say sports entertainment. But if you really hear about what happens backstage and how they run their company and all this stuff going on, it does hinder a lot of the wrestlers being able to be creatively free and be able to actually express themselves and get themselves over and so on and so forth. Even though it's technically what Vince McMahon wants, Triple H wants, get yourself over, and then they do, and then the company squashes them like Zack Ryder and whatnot because they didn't want to push them, and blah, blah, blah. You know, all this other crazy crap that's gone on over the years, and WWE and their stupid political BS and all this other stuff that's been going on. But yeah, there's a lot of wrestlers that, you know, if they were given the chance to go to ROH or New Japan or Chikara or Defiant or, you know, CZW or anywhere else, they at least would have a little bit more freedom because WWE does tend to put limits on their wrestlers, and then obviously they wrestle like multiple matches a week and whatnot, so they can't go all out and try to do their wrestling styles because they have to limit themselves and stuff like that. WWE might be the most popular wrestling company in the world. I use popular in quotations and wrestling in quotations, but they are obviously not the biggest company to allow any wrestlers out there a chance to, you know, learn all the skills they really need. In my opinion, the best wrestlers in the world are the ones that wrestle all around the world, go to different countries, different companies and whatnot, not stay stagnant in the same company for 10 plus years. But, you know, before I get off on a tangent about what I think about indie wrestling or Japan wrestling or Mexico wrestling or WWE or whatever, and who I think's right, who I think's wrong, and blah, blah, blah. This list is going to, before I get on the intro too long, this list is going to be the 5 WWE wrestlers I feel would do better outside of the company. And I have my other phone here so I can kind of look up some information for some of these guys, some of their back, because I looked up some of their back history so I can actually mention it here, because trying to remember that all in my head is going to be a little hard for some of these guys. But one rule when I went into this list, one rule I wanted to do was I wanted to look for any wrestlers that had either no experience outside WWE or very little experience outside WWE. I went down the list of wrestlers that are on the WWE roster right now that I think would do better outside of it. I wrote down a list of like 15, did research, and then I noticed a lot of them have a lot of indie experience, a lot of Japan experience, Mexico experience, and whatnot. And I'm like, you know what, I'm not going to include them because they've already done better outside the company. They've already learned in AAA or learned in ROH or learned in some other, you know, New Japan or something like that. So I didn't include people like, you know, the Hunico Sin Cara or Ty Dillinger or, you know, stuff like that, or characters. And I also didn't include anyone that I think has found their niche in the company, like a Zack Ryder. So even though I think he would do a freaking crap ton better anywhere else, I didn't include him on this list. So if you're thinking Zack Ryder's going to show up on this list, he's not. I look for people that have either very little experience outside WWE to none at all, because I think that gives them a chance to grow. They get out of the company, they get out of the limitations of WWE, and they go somewhere else. They're given more freedom to express themselves and learn the skills they need to get themselves more over as wrestlers, get more wrestling skills for their mic skills and their in-ring skills and blah, blah, blah. So without further ado, I've went about 4 minutes now without mentioning it in the introduction. The 5 WWE wrestlers that would do better outside the company. Finally. In the first one, I am cheating a bit because it's a tag team, but I think both people in this tag team would do a lot better if they were not under WWE's system. And that goes to Tyler Breeze and Fandango. Quite frankly, both of them don't have too much experience as far as my research outside of WWE. Basically, Tyler Breeze only has ever had basically a couple. He was in Power Zone Wrestling in 2007. He did very little wrestling outside, you know, WWE. But then he basically, around like 2012 or so, he came in and he was in WWE ever since, doing like, you know, his, you know, selfie stick stuff with there, and then joining up with the Breezango thing with his partner here, Fandango, who used to go as like Johnny Curtis and be almost like a stalker guy, and basically had just as much experience outside of WWE as You know, he did, even though he started wrestling a lot earlier. Fandango started in the late 90s. He didn't really do too much outside of being, you know, there he did a lot of independent work, but he didn't do a whole lot of it since the late 90s until jumping into WWE around like 2006, 7-ish, where he's been ever since as like Johnny Curtis and Deep South Wrestling, which was one of their companies they worked with and whatnot. It's like this entry on this list more so goes for Tyler Breeze because his experience in wrestling before, WWE was very little compared to Johnny Curtis, Fandango. But I'm putting him as a tag team because I think they would do a whole lot better than like being stuck with like the comedy, ballroom dancer gimmick or guy with selfie stick gimmick or like the weird duo, buddy cop thing they're doing now with Breezango and whatnot. A chance to prove themselves, go out further, let Fandango be more Johnny Curtis and do the stuff he did from 1999 to 2006 and work on his craft and improve himself. But especially my number one entry on this list is going to Tyler Breeze because he is in the ring. He is talented. He can do moves. He has style. He has charisma. But why is he not being used like what they originally tried to do Dolph Ziggler with? They tried to make Dolph Ziggler like the show-off guy that did all the moves and stuff like that. All he did was I'm wearing a selfie stick. I am beautiful. I am the guy every woman wants to get with. And then he was a joke character. He came in off NXT, never won the NXT title, mind you, which he should have had at least once. He's had a billion chances to win it. And then he becomes a joke gimmick character, and then he goes and teams up with Fandango. They become a joke thing, teaming up with the Ascension, and blah, 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 and they never get used at all, and he deserves at least some title runs. He has, like, no title runs, like, almost at all, except for, like, one-time tag team champion, I think, with Breezango, and they had a very freaking short title reign. But they both have the skills. They both have a chance if they broke out of their comedy gimmicks. And I'm not saying comedy is not needed in wrestling. It's needed every now and then, but these guys are both talented, and if they were given the free reins to be more than the dual buddy cop things of Breezango, they probably would do and become a lot better. Quite frankly, and that's my first one choice / two. It's mostly for Tyler Breeze, but I brought in the Breezango thing with Fandango just because I think he deserves better too, even though he has more experience. He's kind of like the one exception on my list where I said not so much indie experience because he has about 5 years, when everyone else doesn't have all that much either. So there you go. But even then, 5 years, 6 years isn't even a whole heck of a lot in wrestling companies when people have wrestled like 30, 40, 50, 60 years. So there you go. That's my first one / two. My second one goes to Bo Dallas. If for no other reason than he has been given Jack Diddley squat all since he's been in WWE. The Bo Leave gimmick almost led to nowhere. He was a one-time NXT champion. He comes to the main roster. He pretty much becomes a joke jobber. Now he's a heel. Now he's one of Miz's henchmen. He's the son of Mike Rotunda. He's the brother of Bray Wyatt, who, as much as I wanted to put him on this list, I think Bray Wyatt has at least a slight chance to kind of improve, and they might use his character more, even though they made his character a complete another joke when it was originally going to be kind of a cool, like, Mankind Undertaker hybrid. He could have been a cool, mysterious, dark character, and they've ruined him. He's for another day. Bo Dallas has done Jack Diddley all since he's been in the company. Like, what has he majorly accomplished? He's the son of a legendary wrestler in Mike Rotunda, IRS, $1 Million Man dude, with $1 Million Man and whatnot, and he's talented. He's been wrestling since, when did he start his career? Make sure I can get the right information here. Yeah, he started right up in Florida Championship Wrestling in 2008 with WWE when they were kind of teaming up with WWE. And he got a contract to the NXT thing, and now he's on the roster where he's done pretty much nothing besides jump around between being the social rejects or social whatever they're called, and then now with The Miz, which at least gives him something to do. Like, if you have something to do, I think it doesn't hurt him as much. But when you're capable of doing much more and you're related to that much talent, even though IRS wasn't the biggest wrestler back in the 80s and whatnot, he at least had a character and had some skills, and he was a talented wrestler, and he did stuff in WWF. So it's like Bo Dallas hasn't even accomplished maybe half of what his father's done. And he hasn't even really accomplished what Bray Wyatt's done. Bray Wyatt at least has been champion. But at least at the same other time, he's won the NXT title, even though Bray Wyatt never won the NXT title. So it kind of equals out. But it's like, given the wrestling history in that family, who their grandfathers were, who their father was, who his brother is, Bo Dallas is capable of being given a lot better chance than what he's given WWE. And I think if he left Vince McMahon land and went to New Japan, or to ROH or something. He can become like a Juice Robinson, or he can do anything else. He can become talented and be like all these other Jay White, Switchblade, I forgot his name in New Japan. He can get somewhere, and it's not going to be with WWE. My third one, and this is another cheating one because it's a tag team, and it's because this tag team has done absolutely nothing once they left NXT. Haven't you noticed something similar here? Most of these people are from NXT. Actually, quite frankly, every wrestler I've named so far has been from NXT, and these are from. This is what has been known as the failed NXT project people. I mean, there's people that have come from NXT like Kevin Owens and Asuka that are doing well, and Shinsuke Nakamura, Sami Zayn to some extent. But this is another one that a lot of people consider as a failure. And that's the Ascension of Connor and Victor, because they were pushed so much as the Road Warriors. They were pushed so much as Road Warrior ripoffs when they kind of had a cool gimmick in NXT. They weren't really Road Warrior people. They kind of felt like the Brood almost. Like if you took Edge and Christian and made them tall, bulking, strong guys that just destroyed people without Gangrel on their side, they felt kind of like vampires. They kind of felt like a Brood type of thing. And then they come to the main roster. They become Road Warrior ripoffs. All the legends kick their ass. Then they wear the stupid weird face paint now and team up with Breezango and do all this weird crap. And they could have been like the APA. They could have been like Demolition. They could have been like the Road Warriors, but not a distinct ripoff of the Road Warriors, but like a dominant tag team like the Road Warriors. And quite frankly, looking at what they've both done, I know the group used to have more members. Like the group, when it first started, used to have like 4 members, and then they kind of came, and now it's down to Victor and Connor and whatnot. But it's like, they have started since FCW. That's basically all they've really done has been like FCW. But the group used to be like a faction. Now it's a tag team. They lost members and got new members, and now it's this. They were a dominant tag team in NXT. They come to the main roster, and they become a complete joke where they can be jobbing out to every single person on weekly SmackDowns or Raws or something. It's like, why don't you give them more of a chance? They both have good physiques. They both are like, they look dominant. They at least appeared dominant when they were doing like NXT and whatnot. And boom, nothing, not a damn thing, nowhere they're going. But if they both left the company, they can go become like the War Machines over like in New Japan and ROH and whatnot. They become like this big monstrous tag team. Change their name obviously in appearance, but they become more around and be like these guys that just kill everyone, destroy everyone. They have these big physiques. They can be dominant monsters, and they do nothing with them. That's my third one. Even though technically I've talked about 5 already, so I'm kind of cheating here because the next 2 are 1 each. And I know I cheated with the Breezango and the Ascension, and I don't really care. It's my list. But if I'm talking about Victor, I have to talk about Connor and vice versa. And if I'm talking about Tyler Breeze, I'm talking about Fandango and vice versa, even though that entry was mostly for Tyler Breeze because he really, 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 really needs it. My fourth one is going to go to Curtis Axel / Michael McGillicuddy / whatever the heck you want to call him by, the son of Mr. Perfect. Why hasn't they done anything with him? He's the son of freaking damn Mr. Perfect. I know he's not his father. He's not as talented either in charisma or wrestling skills to some extent as, Mr. Perfect Kurt Hennig was. I know that. I'm not trying to compare him to his father. I know comparing, children to their parents who've accomplished something has hurt, not just in wrestling, but in the world of acting and singing and all that stuff has, hurt careers because it sets too high of a perception for them. But he is capable of more than they have given him. He is capable of so much more than they have given him. Jeez. He used to be like in World League Wrestling from 2007 to 2008, and then he came to WWE around 2007 to 2010 range, which was when he was in Florida Championship Wrestling. Then the NXT season, when he was Michael McGillicuddy, he joined the Nexus. Didn't really do much after that. Came back, was managed by Paul Heyman. He was a Paul Heyman guy, teamed with Ryback, and they gave him an Intercontinental reign. Didn't really get anywhere. And now he's just like Bo Dallas, the other side guy to The Miz. And he could be so much more if they at least allowed him to work on his charisma, work on his ability to perceive himself like his father, and at least allow him to do his wrestling skills. Because he's not bad in the ring. He has talent. You just need to let him go more. And it's like, where is the chance for them to let him do it if he's wrestling like 7 days a week and having to travel all the time, and he's like, they're telling him, you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't do this, and he's not allowed to really expand his horizon and learn and update and work on his repertoire of his mic skills and his ring skills and whatnot. He could easily be Mr. Perfect Jr., but I don't mean like them stealing his gimmick, but at least something different. they had something interesting going for him when he was teaming up with Damian Sandow and they were doing stupid gimmick mashups, and then that went nowhere. At least he had a slight, like, niche right there, and he has a slight niche now with Bo Dallas, which applies to the Bo Dallas thing with The Miz, but it's like, he can be capable of so much more just like Bo Dallas because of their family. They should easily become like what they originally did with Cody Rhodes and Ted DiBiase, like the, priceless thing, but obviously don't make them go off their dad's gimmicks, because that's, I hate when WWE does that, because it's WWE that mostly does that. I know TNA does that sometimes and whatnot, but try not to copy the father's gimmick to the children, the parents' gimmick to the children, because that never really works. And my fifth and final one, and this is the reason I especially want to do this list, because he literally needs to leave the company. He literally would do better anywhere else. Even in TNA, he would be a world champion. In New Japan, he could have a chance to become the IWGP champion. Go to Defiant. Go to, CZW. I don't care. You can go to, Chikara or Progress or anywhere. He would do so much better, and that has to be Dolph Ziggler. Come on. This is the sole reason I did this list, because Dolph Ziggler is going nowhere in this company. He is going nowhere. And everyone's made comparisons to him to Shawn Michaels, and he's doing this, and he oversells, and blah, blah, blah. But he has the skills to back himself up, and he goes out there, and he actually, you could tell that he has talent. You could tell that he has, a lot of talent in him. And he has come from Ohio Valley Wrestling back in around like 2004, 2005, but that's when it was like a training ground originally for, WWE, before it eventually went to TNA and whatnot. And then he was in the Spirit Squad, which was a comedy gimmick. And then he came back and he did like, Dolph Ziggler stuff for the last X amount of years. When did he come back? When did he come back? Around 2009? Yeah, around 2007, 8, 9-ish. And he's been Dolph Ziggler ever since. He's been world champion once or twice, but injuries. I understand maybe it's because of injuries they're not deciding to push him, because he's kind of, had a couple injuries over the time, and he's been pushed. He's been the Intercontinental Champion, United States Champion, all this other stuff. But it's like, he has the mic skills. He literally can talk, and he goes out there and people say oversells, but he sells well. The way he sells is how like Shawn Michaels used to sell, how The Rock used to sell. People love him for selling. So why would you guys be mad at Dolph Ziggler for selling the way he does? You know what? Like, he would do so much better going in. And it's the cliche because Cody Rhodes going and joining the Bullet Club in New Japan. He would go and become whoever the hell else in ROH. Maybe he joined Defiant Wrestling. Maybe he joined Progress. Maybe he just joined Evolve. Maybe go to Chikara. Maybe go to Dragon Gate. Maybe go anywhere. Maybe be the only man that shows up in Shimmer. I don't give a flying crap. But he would do so much better if he wasn't limited on what he could say and what he can do. He can evolve his character, work on his wrestling skills, and just become a world champion, any kind of champion, become a legendary wrestler elsewhere. And that's my list. I know it's 7. I know it's supposed to be 5, but I did 7. Connor and Victor of the Ascension, Tyler Breeze, Fandango, Bo Dallas, Curtis Axel, and Dolph Ziggler. Put in the comments below, what wrestlers inside WWE, men or women, do you think personally would do better if they wrestled elsewhere? You can go and do what I did with wrestlers that hardly had any indie experience or outside WWE experience, or wrestlers that have 10 plus billion years of experience and they just leave the company and go back to what they were doing. Because just put in the comments what you think. Do you guys agree with my list, and what do you think personally would be it? My name is Sonny Son. Peace. Please subscribe if you want to, and have a lovely day.